like a mouse.
Tango.
Are you with me? Here we go. Close your eyes.
Tango? No, not Tango. Shiloh, you are 13 weeks or 14 weeks? I forgot. I think you're almost... On Saturday, you'll either be 13 weeks or 14 weeks. I think 13 weeks. 13 weeks old and you still suckling? You still suckling? That's Shiloh. At first I thought it was Tango because I put a bunch of coconut oil on him and got rid of those fleas. Then I picked some more off. So each night I got to work on a cat and put a bunch of coconut oil on them. And that should pretty much nip him in the butt. Yeah, the coconut oil seems to really be working pretty good. Oh my God. But I don't have time to do the other cats right now. Yeah, weird. I just realized, one of the main characteristics, of schizophrenic people, like, it's so weird. I never really thought of my brother as schizophrenic. But he is. And, one of the main characteristics is they feel demons tapping them on the shoulder. And of course they hear them talking to them all the time, the demons, especially if they're really drunk or whatever. He probably hears them all the time, even when he's not drunk. I really don't know. Well, yeah, because that other guy up at Barnes & Noble's, he doesn't abuse drugs or alcohol, and he still hears voices and stuff. Probably just not all the time, but when my brother gets really drunk all the time, he hears... the demons are talking to them, like trying to kill them and everything else. But, of course, the psychologist community will never acknowledge that. They just think they're crazy and have schizophrenia when it's really all demons. But that's one of the main characteristics. That just kind of dawned on me with schizophrenics. The demons, tapping them, touching them, and they hear the demons. But like I say, a psychology community, they'll never acknowledge that. They just think they're crazy because nobody else is feeling stuff like that, or hearing voices. But it's a program. It's a program they're running. The aliens are running on 1 out of 100 people. 1 out of 100 people have schizophrenia. It's just a program they're running. Just like my program is the OBE VR-Lucid-dream program. Like my brother, God, that makes so much sense, and it just dawned on me. I'm like, damn, because me and him are so much alike, and I'm thinking, why is he so really fucked up, and I'm not like that? And I kind of acted crazy a little bit when I was younger, all the way up to about 30 or whatever. I was like able to I never heard voices and shit like that, but I became enlightened and got better, But yeah, I just realized, God, man, my brother, he's really fucked up. Like compared to me or whatever. I acted a little bit crazy like him when I was younger, but I didn't hear voices and all that crap. I don't know if he been hearing voices all of his life, and I don't know. We just always thought, oh, he has a bad temper. But now, mental illness, it gets worse as you get older, but he's got a million other things. He would be diagnosed with at least 25 things or more. But he's probably going to do some prison time, so he'll probably never get properly diagnosed. But yeah, it just kind of dawned on me, like, when I looked at the symptoms, I'm like, wow, he really does have schizophrenia. And I know alcoholism can kind of cause psychotic schizophrenia type behavior, but he was probably just, I mean, he was just born that way, you know, or he was just born that way, you know, already running that program, the aliens running that program on people. I mean, it's kind of obvious, and that's probably why he can't get rid of his demons like I did. I mean, like me acting a little bit crazy when I was younger. Well, you know, I mean, I'm not saying the aliens made me act that way, but I enlightened and I don't act that way anymore. You know what I mean? And I realized my brother, yeah, he's not going to be able to get rid of his bullshit because, you know, the aliens own him. But I've said that before in one of my videos, you know. It's the aliens, you know, making all these people, keeping them bipolar and shit like that. But it's just programs they're running. But a lot of it, you can kind of enlighten and get rid of them to a certain degree. But like I say, if it's some hardcore program, maybe my brother would never be able to be normal or whatever. And I don't know if priests and stuff could help or not. You know what I mean? I don't know all of that. But that's probably a lot of stupid propaganda and shit. Like, yeah, I'm so sure you're gonna go to I saw a Catholic church over there by my sister's house. I'm so sure you're gonna go in there and ask them about doing exorcisms and shit. They'll look at you like you're crazy, you know? They'll probably say, oh, that's just shit that you see on TV, you know? But yeah, I just realized, like, wow, my brother's really fucked up. But he wasn't that screwed up prior to 2020. I mean, like I say, it gets worse as you age, and I noticed that from experience, meeting a bunch of other mentally ill people when I was 24. But okay, so let's see. It's it. Yeah. Oh, I already said that. See. Yeah, I'm running the OBE VR-Lucid-dream program. I love my fucking program. My aliens are running on me. Like that Tory Smith guy, you know, well, they murdered his ass. Well, that's because he was already running that program that they were gonna kill him, and you know, that was already decided when he was born that all was gonna happen. If you know what I mean. So they were allowed to do that to him. Because that was just, well, I don't know. It kind of goes deep. I just think, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's just kind of deep. I just think, like this dimension is pretty much hell. The fourth dimension is also hell, where the aliens reside or whatever. And, you know, they run this dimension, so, you know, they could do what they want with people. And then, I guess where God resides, that's, you know, in the higher planes, and she don't have no say-so in this dimension. God damn, Tango, you got so many freaking fleas. Well, you really don't have a lot. I mean, you really don't have a lot, because I've been working on you for months and months. But still, I'm so OCD and it's getting on my nerves so bad. But, okay, what did I just do with the tweezers? Oh my God, I can't find the tweezers. Okay, so anyway, oh, there's the tweezers. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I get it. Okay. So, okay, so, I swear, I think I'm forgetting that whole first part, but I had this scenario, well, as far as I remember, the first part, it's like me and my mom were walking down a mental health facility, you know, because, you know, I had already had all of that on the brain and stuff, And yeah, and but I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting a lot of that first scene. But maybe I'm not. Okay, so then there's a really weird, significant part to this experience. Okay, so where I felt the pain and crap, like on my finger. Okay, so the first part, like me and mom were actually there's three parts, and like I say, I still think I'm forgetting a lot about the first scene, but so we were walking down like a mental health facility, talking and stuff, like walking this direction, and then all of a sudden, boom, it plops to, yeah, like we're walking down the corridor, where there's no people and stuff. Maybe I'm not forgetting anything, but I feel like I am. But anyway, so then boom, it pops to the second scene. So we were walking down this way, and then all of a sudden, and we're talking, and then all of a sudden, oh, I know where Joel got that from. Kinda, because probably from the hospital when me and Christy were walking down, it wasn't a mental health facility, just that hospital in Kansas. Maybe that's kind of like where he got the idea, people walking around and stuff. But anyway, so then all of a sudden we're walking into the mental health facility, and I see there's tons of people, tons of adult people with their kids, but most of them weren't kids. They were like older, 17, 18, 19, sitting over here in chairs, waiting for their doctors or whatever, their appointments, and over here. And I mean, like I say, there's a lot of people, a lot of parents with their young, like teenager kids and stuff. And I would hear some of them screaming, because they were mentally ill. So a lot of them, a lot of mentally ill people scream and shit. And they were screaming, a lot of them, I heard a lot of screaming going on because they were the mental patients, about to see their psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever. Okay, so then all of a sudden I look down, what I thought was a little kitten running around at first. And then I look closer, I thought it was a tiny kitten. And here's, the ground, or the floor over here. And then all of a sudden, it was a rat. It was a rat running around. And then all of a sudden, I see these whelps coming up, like at the right of its face. These big old whelps, like about that big, these whelps coming up at the side of his face, like rising up at the side of his face. And then I realized, oh shit, that's a rat. And then I realized I started seeing these whelps. And then I started thinking, oh, it's got some very, not necessarily a deadly disease. That wasn't what I was thinking. I had the thought of, oh my God, it has some kind of, some kind of serious invasive virus. This rat, and it apparently it bit me on the finger. And so then I started looking at my finger, and it started hurting really bad. And it started literally peeling all the way down to like the bone or whatever. It started peeling all the way down, this finger right here. And at first, when I just saw the first part, I was like, okay, well, maybe that's, and I felt the pain. It was painful in the scenario. That was like the virtual reality part of the scenario. And I was like, okay, well, it's just, going down to about an inch. And then all of a sudden I saw it just keep crawling down. Just it's almost like a flesh eating disease or something. It went all the way down my finger. And then I started thinking, wow, that's very serious. It just started peeling all the way down, the skin off my bone, all the way down. And like I said, it hurt really. Oh, no, hold on. I forgot the other part. No, I'm sorry. Okay, the first part, it felt like the aliens tied like a string around my finger. And it started hurting really bad, like as if they tied a string really tight around my finger. That's what it felt like at first. And I started feeling all the pain, and that's when I started to notice the invasive disease started eating away all the way down to, all the way down my finger. And I felt the pain as I watched it eating, and I saw that all this, it kind of started looking blackish, behind my skin. And it was just, I didn't see any blood or anything. It just started looking kind of blackish. This first started with little dots. And like I say, and at the same time, it felt like something was tied around my finger really tight. And like the flesh-eating disease or whatever it was that rat had, it started eating away all the way down my finger, and the skin started peeling off. And then I was just like, oh my God, this is something very serious, And because at that time, I mean, I didn't really know I was dreaming or anything, so I thought it was real. And then all of a sudden, my finger just started healing back up again. It just completely started healing back up again, and it was all pink again, like this. All nice and pink. But that was really, really, really bizarre. And then, and like I said, I was already thinking about my brother and mental conditions and all of that before the scenario. Okay, so then the third scene, it was me and my mom and my brother back at the house, and, hanging around the family room. And my brother was looking at me all happy and normal. He looked about 95% normal, and he wasn't drunk or anything. And I was just like, wow, I was so excited that I knew that he was going to go to a mental facility to get help and blah, 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 blah. And he just, in the scenario, he was like so normal looking, at least 95%, And I was just, looking at the expressions on his face. And like I said, it was me, my mom, and my brother. I can't remember if my dad or my sister was around or not. And that was the third part of the scene, the scenario, hanging out in the family room. And like I say, I knew that he was about to go there to that facility. And, or maybe he already got out of the facility and then ended up, but that part I can't really remember exactly. But anyway, it was like either he was done with the facility and came home, or he was about to go there and get help. But anyway, it was bizarre. That was really bizarre. It's been a long time since they've given me an experience, where I felt the like all this pain in the scenario. I normally eat things and I taste things and I smell things physically in the scenario, or I taste things physically in the scenario. It's been a while since they've given me a pain one. And I had another experience, just within a day or two. All of these were just within a day or two of each other, all these experiences, and that I'm about to talk about. And the other one I'm about to talk about, it was painful as well, and it dealt with my whole hand. Yeah, it was bizarre. But anyway, so... oh shit, I gotta hurry up. Oh wait, I can't have my glasses on. I do have them on. Okay, so... oh, this was just one I never talked about. This was several weeks ago. Where it's like, in the scenario, I bought a house, I bought a house, and I was sitting in a neighborhood over off of near where Chattanooga Street is, over there. And I was just sitting there, like, in the car, just looking around, like, oh, wow. Like, like, this is so cool. I bought this new house, this second house in this neighborhood, in this little cul-de-sac, or big cul-de-sac area. And I was just kind of observing the cul-de-sac and observing the houses, and I never did go into my new house, which is kind of weird. So anyway, okay, hold on. And, okay, hold on. And this was so weird. There was a lot of college-age students that lived or rented in these other big houses in this cul-de-sac. Like, when I was sitting in the car, it was, like, right here. And it was all these other bigger houses. The house I bought, I guess, was, like, right here, but I never did go into it. And I was just sitting in my car right here, and observing. And there was all these other big 2-story houses all over here. And this was all the big cul-de-sac, and I was sitting in my car. And over here was a second story of a house, and on the bottom floor there was like a picture window. and this is kind of funny. Was it? I mean, it's kind of funny. I don't know how the aliens screwed this up, but it was basically like a Taco Bell in there, and but it was being run out of this first floor, 2-story house, and there was no signs or anything, and it was out of a first floor double-decker house, and or apartment complex, or it could have been a 2-story little house apartment complex. And the drive-through, it wasn't a drive-through. We just yelled out the window. At that time, there was a couple other college students, like with me, college student age people in the car, and we just yelled out the window. And at that time, we were facing the other direction. At first, I was facing this direction. I was in the car by myself, and then all of a sudden, we were facing that direction, yelling over at the first floor. And at the window, we were yelling at the window, at the drive-through window, which was just just like that in a house. And we yelled out my window, and I told them what we wanted, like certain tacos and everything. And people flung, the workers flung their arms out of the picture window to give us the food, or sort of teleported the food over to us, which was really weird. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Truman was with me in the car, but that was the only cat that was with me, Truman. And I was pondering whether or not I liked the neighborhood or not. And all the other people seemed to be college student age. I was wondering if I would, get along with them or not, or if they would like me, blah, 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 blah. It was just like a whole little communal setting. At one point, I sat in the car with several of the college age neighbors, and we were all eating, and we were talking, and they were like, saying that they ate at McDonald's a lot and Taco Bell. And I was telling them, well, I cannot really eat at McDonald's or Taco Bell. And I figured they would think I was weird, but they seemed to like me okay. But, and I didn't actually eat any food or anything, but we did order food at the Taco Bell. And sometimes it would turn into a McDonald's, but it was just at a normal house, like driving up to a normal second level house and asking for food, at the window and the second level. And then they just kind of flung their arms out and then teleported the food to you. It was just weird. Okay, so this this third experience or whatever. No, that one was a couple or several weeks ago. These other three, the first I already talked about. The other two, they all happened just the last few days. Okay, so I was at this other scenario, OBE VR-Lucid-dream. I was at work, and new people were hired, and one woman got the big cubicle a few cubicles down from me. And at one point, I walked into her cubicle, observing how she had decorated it. And I looked up, and she had these beautiful decorative room dividers, like wicker dividers, setting on top of a shelf above, well, actually not really. Her cubicle, we were just doing like normal things at work, and it lasted a long time. Do I hear a toad out there for the first time? It might be those same frogs that came back for 3 years in a row. Okay, so her cubicle. Okay, so this is kind of where her desk was. The cubicle was really huge in the scenario. And this is not the first time I had experiences, at work. I've had experiences many times at that same workplace. This is like her big old cubicle, and way over here was the big top shelves. And she had all these room dividers, these beautiful room dividers sitting on top. Like 3 of them, decorative room dividers. And over here was the entryway, the desk. And here was a couple more shelves and stuff that she had also decorated. And, okay, so, So basically, I was observing her cubicle and all the cool ass, this was all very, very, very vivid. The room dividers, the wicker wood room dividers that she had setting on top of the top shelf at the back or at the side of her cubicle. There was at least 3. I thought, wow. Then she showed me all of her other knickknacks on another shelf. And I was gazing and gazing at them just millimeters away. And I noticed several small colorful balloons that I used to have as well, you know, at my house. And several TY plush, tie or whatever it's called, plush stuffed animals that she had all close together on a shelf. And that's where the shelf was right there, the little shelves. And I was just gazing and gazing just millimeters away from all of that. And I was like, yeah, I have one of those at home. I have one of those at home. And those colorful balloons. So I was just a few inches away just gawking and gazing at them. At one point, I saw my boss pick up a key off the floor, and she was about to leave out of the building. And she did leave out of the building after she picked up a key off the floor. Off the rug, I mean. And she also brought us a huge white box of pink letter. There's pink reddish lettering on it, which was a huge box of chocolate truffles. And she set it down on my cubicle ledge. The workplace was almost exactly set up like in real life, but much bigger. Much huger. You know, all the cubicles were bigger, the whole the whole aisles were bigger. But okay, so anyway, so the workplace was, you know, almost set up almost exactly like in real life, but much huger. I knew too that eventually that woman, which in the scenario, basically the aliens were copying off, Joel was copying off of Ashley. It was supposed to be Ashley's cubicle. Or in the scenario, it seemed like it was, you know, Ashley that had that big cubicle. But in the scenario, like two, I knew that it would be short-lived. I knew eventually another female would come along and boot her out of that cubicle and want her cubicle. I knew eventually she would be booted out to go to some other place or cubicle that's not as nice or whatever. And like I say, in the scenario, it was supposed to be Ashley, but it wasn't quite her 100%. The other significant, here's the other significant part I was going to tell you about, the pain on my hand. The other significant part of the scenario was I walked back into her cubicle and I looked down at my left hand and it appeared to be all sunburnt and red with some small whitish spots that didn't get sunburned. Also, I looked at my hand and it appeared to be flattened out a bit. Like the aliens took like an iron and flattened it out a bit. Like you take a cup and mash down some chocolate chip cookie dough to make it flatter. So like in the scenario, I either forgotten or so in the scenario, I either forgotten or just don't remember what my thoughts were at the time that I saw my sunburnt hand. But I knew it was weird and strange, and I felt the pain, like it was burning. And but I don't remember the thoughts I had of how or why how it got burnt or anything. Maybe that part will come back to me. I don't know. But I looked at my hand and it was like all sunburnt, and it was a lot bigger too in the scenario. And it looked like there was kind of like some white spots that didn't get sunburnt, but most of it was all sunburnt with some white spots. And like I say, it looked like my hand was almost twice as big, like it had been flattened out. It was much flatter, and it was my left hand. But yeah, it was really weird. And as far as I remember, my hand was this way, not that way. It was that way. But for whatever reason, I walked back into the cubicle, and I was facing the direction of where all those beautiful room dividers were. And that's when I looked at my hand the second time around when I went back into her cubicle. Oh, my God. Oh, and this other scenario was kind of funny, too. Oh, shit, I gotta hurry up. I don't know how much space I have. Okay, and this was just like a day or so ago. Okay, this morning, which was like yesterday morning, this morning was kind of a weird... This morning, I don't even remember any experiences, which is fine by me. Okay, so this morning, which was yesterday morning, I had a kind of a weird experience too, but fun. The first part of the scenario, I was at a Scooter concert. How much is the fish? Well, look him up if you don't know who Scooter is. I was at a Scooter concert and I was sitting in the very back by myself over to the left of the seats, the row. So I was at a concert. in a big city. I don't know what city I was in, but I was in the back rows and I was sitting over here, and the front rows were up here, and Scooter, would have been up here. And the first part of the scenario, I was at a Scooter concert, and I was sitting in the very back by myself, over to the left of the seats, the row. A guy at the very front, another concert goer, over to the left, took his t-shirt off because he was getting all excited about the music being played and or about to be played. And the usher, which was an older guy, he looked about 60s, he told him to put him back on. There was a guy right here, and he took his t-shirt off, and I also had a t-shirt on. And the usher told him to put it back on. I overheard them. I have, x-ray vision and hearing and stuff in these scenarios. I overheard them, and I saw them way down there with my x-ray vision, and I saw him take off his t-shirt. I was here, and he was way up here, but I saw him. I overheard him, what they were saying and everything, and I saw them way down there with my x-ray vision, and I saw him take his shirt off. So I took my t-shirt off. As far as I remember, it was kind of whitish looking as far as I remember. His t-shirt, I can't remember. So I took my t-shirt off and was sort of holding my boobs with my arms to the left as to sort of hide my boobs with my left arms. I was holding them like to the left. And as to cover them. My boobs seemed to be much bigger in the scenario. The man said, well, that woman down there, pointing to me, she has hers off too. So he basically was narking on me. And I was completely topless. I had pants on and everything, but I was completely topless. So the usher came walking down to me, which I was sure that he was going to tell me to put my t-shirt back on. But he did not. He never told me to put it back on, so I did not. Sounds like a double standard to me. But it was kind of funny. So he started walking down to me. And he did not ever tell me to put it back on, so I didn't. So then the usher asked me how the guys / janitors were doing in the back of the building. He asked me how the janitors were doing. I looked out the window, which was behind me, and I saw 2 small sheds, which appeared to be right there on the streets in this big city we were at. They were side by side. I could see the wood doors that were open already, and I could see all the tools and stuff that were inside. I looked back at the usher, and I told him they were fine. So like I say, here is the auditorium. And this is me, this was the other guy. This was the usher that came waltzing down. Okay, here's the building right here, the end of the building. Okay, so I looked out these windows right here. And here's where the streets were. And here's where the 2, my throat is getting scratchy. Here's where the 2 small sheds were outdoors as I looked out the window. And, at that time I turned around facing that direction. The 2 small sheds, completely square, small, normal, I don't know what 20, let's see, what would that be? 10, 10 foot by 9 foot sheds or whatever. Or 12 foot by 12 foot, something like that. Okay, so I gotta hurry up. Shit, hold on. So I told the usher they were fine. So then I turned back around. Then I looked again out the window because I turned back around behind me again. And they totally were, they were totally like, bam, 50% collapsed and demolished. So I turned back around and I told the usher, whoops, they just collapsed. Then the second part of the scenario, I was riding my motorcycle down West Battlefield Street over here, with my mom, and I told her I wasn't sure where I wanted to stop off at and observe. So basically, she was behind me. I was hauling her on my motorcycle behind me down West Battlefield Street. This was all very, very, very vivid, all of these experiences. As I looked to the left, I saw some nice vivid, as we whizzed by the left, I started intently looking at all the nice apartment buildings that had been built. And in real life, there's a lot of apartment buildings that had been built, down there. As I looked to the left, I saw some nice vivid apartments with a lot of glass windows. So then I rode a bit farther and was thinking, well, I guess I will stop off here where I used to live over 30 years ago. So I stopped off at this other apartment building and got off my bike and started walking around observing. In the scenario, in my brain, I was thinking it just seemed logical to me to stop off at the building I used to live at. So that was sort of familiar to me. I had all those thoughts in my brain before I pulled off. So basically, shit, I gotta hurry. I lose. I'm sorry, baby. Tango. Okay, so basically, here's West Battlefield Street, and then I saw the apartment buildings over here, but where I decided to stop off at was at a big apartment building to the right, and that's where I used to live a long time ago, in real life. So then, basically, I was in a nice little enclosed area. I was still outdoors. I don't know where my mom was at that point. I guess she was walking around behind me or whatever. But basically, I was in an enclosed, when I went into the apartment building. Okay, so here's the apartment building. And there were some steps over here that led up to, the apartments. Some small steps. And all of this was enclosed. We were outdoors, but it was just all enclosed. Like a little alleyway, or, what do you call it? A little alleyway, or, what's that called? I forgot what it's called. A little alleyway. This whole area was an open little alleyway. And there was, apartments. The big trash dumpster was over here. Little apartments. And I walked up some steps and I knew that led to that apartment that I used to live at. In real life and in the scenario. I mean, I knew all that in the scenario. And over here, like I said, this was all open and sunny and everything. And some of the kittens were in the scenario as well, running around. Some of my kittens. But what do you call that? Shit, I forgot what you call it. Not a carport. Shit, I forgot what it's called. But it was just like a little alleyway. I forgot that other word. But anyway. But it was actually more like an alleyway than that other word that I'm thinking of anyway. So then I walked over to some small steps and I saw a homeless looking person under the steps. When I just told you I was about to walk up those steps because I knew my old apartment was up there. So I walked over to some small steps and I saw wood steps. And I saw a homeless-looking man with red hair. He appeared to be living there under the steps. He looked about 70 years old. And he also looked fatigued. He wasn't homeless, though. He was just a tenant. He started saying that somebody had been setting Coke bottles over there near the opposite of the trash cans. So the trash dumpsters were over here. And he was saying that somebody was setting down Coke bottles down here. And, near the opposite of the trash cans, like I just told you, over here, setting Coke bottles down. And he thought something was up with him. I said, do you think there are drugs in there? And he said, yes. Then I said, well, we should tell somebody. We should go tell the land people that run the apartment complex, that there's drugs in those Coke bottles, I mean. Then his son came walking over to us and he was talking about the bottles and wondering the same thing, if there were drugs in there. I said, well, we should tell the office workers at the apartment complex. We should go, to the office and tell them, the workers. Then when I looked over at the huge dumpster, I saw a lot of feral cats that were eating on a huge, fresh, round 18-inch pizza that was sitting on top of the trash. the tenants were feeding the cats, and I was so happy with that. I saw several cats chomping away right on top of the pizza near the pizza. And so the dumpster was over here, like I said, the dumpster, and the cats were facing this direction. The pizza was over here, this big old fresh round pizza. And they were just chomping away. The office where you pay your rent was over here somewhere. And like I say, the little brown steps that led up to the old apartment that I used to live at. The guy was living under the steps. I mean, not living under the steps. He was under the steps, so I thought he was a homeless man. He was hanging out under the steps. And like I say, this was all enclosed. But it was outdoors, and it was sunny and everything. And over here, like it was all alleyway. And I think there was some more apartments over here. And over here, this was just like the entryway into the little, the alleyway. And like I say, people were setting Coke bottles down. And somehow we just knew there were drugs in them. But what's that other word? Courtyard. Kind of like a courtyard type of thing. Enclosed courtyard type of thing. But it really felt more like, I mean, it still kind of felt a little bit like a courtyard, but it kind of looked more like a alleyway. It was kind of a big area. But anyway, it was strange and a fun experience. Well, thanks for listening. Okay, bye. It's time for dinner. Gotta go eat. See, look, Hannah, I put coconut oil all over her. Okay, well, I see one flea, so I'm going to have to get that flea off. And she hasn't scratched one time all damn night. I mean, I'm sure I missed a couple fleas, but I put coconut oil on her last night. And look, I'm only seeing one flea on her, whereas, I would get 20 off of her one night. Next night, I would get another 20 off. Now, I'm only seeing one flea. So it's dramatically working. The more you put on them, the more it's going to work. But let me just get that flea off her that I just saw. Thanks for listening.